morning, Aurora. Good morning, Aurora. Good morning, Aurora. The time is 9:02 a.m. You're listening to and watching Good Morning, Aurora, the second largest city's first daily news podcast. It's Wednesday, the 19th. The week is going by. So is the month, actually. My guest today is Jim Cherry, author of the Lion Communique. And before the microphone came on, we were just talking about how things are moving kind of fast, but it's good to see you again, Jim.
It's nice being here. Thank you.
Yeah, how's things been, sir?
Pretty good. Just writing and working and getting through like
a whole bunch
else.
Of the same. Yeah. So the Lion Communique. Now this is our third interview with you.
Yeah.
New about this interview is that you are part of a book signing Saturday, March 1st.
Yes, sir.
Tell us about that.
Yeah. Well, Barnes & Noble in Oswego is having me for a solo book signing. Actually, I was part of like a mass one in December, and they decided that to bring me back.
Good.
Yeah, I thought that was very cool, and so they gave me a solo signing, and so it's March 1st between 1 and 3 p.m. and
nice.
I'm going to have we're going to have some balloons to draw attention and everything, and bring people over to me.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Now, this is your first solo signing.
For Barnes & Noble.
For Barnes & Noble. Okay.
Yeah, I've done smaller bookstores by myself.
So this is the first chain bookstore.
Yes, sir.
Okay. How's it feel going, making that transition from your local to the bigger chain?
The bookstore.
Okay.
People are the same. They're looking for things to read, interesting things to read. The people are interesting, It's like,
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah,
okay. So I want to read a little bit from the inside jacket of the Lion Communique. The battlefield isn't the only place wars are fought. The Lion Communique are darkly wound stories infused with the power of myth, not only in the ancient classical sense, as well as the myths we create for ourselves. As you read the Lion Communique, subconscious themes emerge: war, life as a remembered act, the boundaries of good and evil, and the hope of redemption, as well as the myths we create for ourselves. Let's talk about that. Okay. The myths we create for ourselves. What do you mean by that?
This is part of it. Shakespeare said, all life is a theater and everything. So we all kind of, we create our own, we're our own personas. We're our actors in life. We create our, own boundaries and myths about ourselves. Your background and where you came from, and some of it's malleable, some of it isn't. It depends on the person, and it depends on what the person wants to say about themselves in life.
Right. Yeah. What kind of story do they want to write for themselves?
Right.
Kind of thing.
Yeah. And it's not not like writing, but like it's
constructing.
Life is a theater,
right.
And it's like,
where did the inspiration for the Lion Communique come from? How did we get, what was the thought process to produce this book here?
Well, I was working on, I had previously been working on a nonfiction book about a rock and roll band that didn't pan out. And I thought, man, I haven't had a book out in a long time. And I had a couple short stories laying around. So I said, I got to whip out I want to whip out a book of short stories here. I already have some. So that whipping it out took me, I had a couple stories, but it took me 3 years to whip it out.
You make it sound so easy. How long have you been a writer?
Well, I've been doing it, I think we mentioned this before. I've been kind of writing and scribbling stuff since I was like 12. I got really serious about it in my 20s, and I really started the whole discipline of writing novels and stuff when I was about 30. I really, during my 20s and everything, I wanted to do it, and I was doing it. I was like writing vignettes, I was writing in notebooks and stuff, scribbling, but nothing was good enough. And then I don't know, I went to Germany for a while, and I came back, and I was actually living in my a hot little, almost the proverbial artist's garret, a little room in my parents' house that was
Okay.
hot, and it was August. So I said, what am I sitting up here watching TV for? And it's like, I've always said I wanted to write a novel, so
Right.
boom, I did it.
Who are the Doors?
The Doors, they are a rock group from the 60s. Jim Morrison was the lead singer. He's a rock star's idea of a rock star. He's influenced a lot of people. I used to write articles called the Doors Examiner online. I was like one of the top, for the last year, I was in the top 5 music writers for the Examiner with the Doors. And I'm kind of a Doors expert. I keep getting mentioned in other people's books for that.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. But so they're like one of the iconic bands of the 60s.
Sure.
There's the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, the Doors.
Yep.
And,
Definitely the top 3 when people mention.
Yeah.
Talk about the influence of the Doors on this book, up to and including the great artwork.
Okay, well, yeah, that great artwork is by a friend of mine. Actually, that's a rough draft. He said, I had all kinds of lion things because I had the title right away. And I had all kinds of different lion poses and everything. I said, I wanted to be a little psychedelic. And he said, well, here's this. And he said, it's the rough draft, but we can fix it up later. But he never fixed it up. And
it's an impressive draft.
Yeah,
it really is.
Yeah.
Now, when we read this book, I want to go through a few of the chapters as well. And we've read a little bit from this novel in some of our previous interviews. Let's talk about the father's son.
Okay. That is a story about. It turns out this guy is he's a big game hunter in Africa. His father was a famous writer. It's based kind of, if you know anything about Hemingway, you can kind of tell it's Hemingway-ish. The main character, or the father character, is a Hemingway-ish type character. And the son is trying to deal with his father's large, not overbearing, but overwhelming presence in his life and in the public life, and how that's related to him and why people are come to see this guy.
Right.
And I think it parents and children have relationships as they get older, kind of gets fraught. Fathers and sons have different, well, I don't know if you want to get into Oedipal complexes or not, but there's that kind of a thing. And, mothers and daughters have their short, periods where they're kind of at odds with each other. And so the father's son just kind of picks up on that and takes it to the extreme.
Interesting. I like the way this opens. I'll read just a couple sentences from it. The head of the charging bull elephant filled my vision. Excuse me. I'd angered it with my presence. I was too close to its harem. His harem. His head was down, his ears extended, making himself as large as he could, tusks pointed forward. There was good reason the Indians had used them in war, and Alexander and his battle-hardened army had quaked in fear when they first saw them. Time is 9:12 a.m. This is on page 69. Now, spoiler alert, I have this book. Okay? So I do like to wax a little bit literally from this book. It's very good. What does it take to make a good short story?
The idea, I just run across things. I've always had this kind of saying, the farther I go in, the further I reach out. So like I'm going into my own head to find things. And so I'm using my own experience and extrapolating it into characters and stuff. And I just, I just try to get the stories. I need to know the beginning and the end of a story, and the middle fills itself out.
Okay.
But so it's kind of a thing of self-discovery as well, because that middle filling it out, and,
Right.
I've read all my life, and I've always I wanted to be a poet a long time ago, but I'm a better fiction writer as a poet than a poet. So I just try to the actual words itself. I think the better stories I have, they're pictures in my head, and maybe even movies in my head, and I am writing what I'm seeing.
Okay, very interesting. I know everybody has their different style. I write very sparingly. And by sparingly, I write some of the things for this program that appear online, and different things like that. Try to give blood and sinew to just a press release or whatever the case may be, to try to make it less legalese and more human.
Right.
But I'm curious about everyone's writing style, because I do think that shows a lot about who the author is as an individual.
Yeah, I've been kind of thinking about that in anticipation of talking with you today. Because in some ways I don't write disciplined. I have to have an inspiration, I have to have a flash, something like a sentence, a scene,
right,
something that just pops in my head that is so vivid I have to get it down, right? So I think in a certain way, I don't know if you want, consider it, if I'm a visionary writer or, maybe an ecstatic writer.
Okay.
I don't know if people would think that's too pretentious or not, but
it's what defines who you are. So I think it's appropriate. Now I want to read from another chapter that I've always liked in this book. Okay, listen to this, guys. This is page 91. The temperature dropped 1 degree. An invisible force swept across the battlefield like an Old Testament avenging angel, silently, mysteriously. Throughout time, it had been given many names. It was known to man, yet unknown to man. In other times, it may have been called the Holy Spirit, the Christmas Spirit, or in a more scientific age, the ID, consciousness, an entity. Or maybe it was just the accumulated feeling of like-minded souls that manifested the ineffable, a fervent wish or prayer, the original impetus of man.
That sounds good, man.
It does. Who wrote this book? Tell us about the Christmas truce.
The Christmas truce. It's based on a true story. In World War I, I know most wars start out like, oh, we're gonna have a real fast war. We'll go battle this and we'll be done and home.
We'll be home by
Christmas, right?
Yep.
So I forget if it was the first or second Christmas of World War I. It got to be Christmas time, and the battlefields were frozen and everything, and it rolled around to Christmas, and the foxholes and everything were so close to each other they could. The Germans and the English French, they could talk to each other.
Yep, that's right.
And so on Christmas, there was a ceasefire. So they all got out in the middle, and they celebrated Christmas. The Germans brought over Christmas trees.
Yep.
The English brought over some alcohol.
Yeah.
And,
Yep.
Yeah, so they even played, there's a famous soccer game that was supposed to have happened. And I think
in no man's land between the trenches. Yes.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm sorry I did. But yeah, that's exactly right. So there's this truce, and the story kind of extrapolates. What if that feeling had remained? What if everyone had refused to go back to war? And what would have happened?
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. So that's a interesting piece of history, because World War I is just so full of it. But you got the Battle of the Somme and Verdun and other things, and then that Christmas truce was definitely awesome. All right, 9 18 is the time. Good morning to you guys if you're just joining us. Lauren Marie is here. Good morning to you. Tracy Duran is here. Good morning, Tracy. Perry Slade, Daniel Okanowski, Andrea Santalanes, Josue Pais. Josue is here. He says, has anyone told you sound like Johnny Cash?
No.
Not till now, right?
Yeah, people have said I kind of look like Johnny Cash. I get like everybody, like sometimes Michael McDonald, who was in the Doobie Brothers and stuff.
Yes, who went on to, I keep forgetting, you're not in love. The Doobie Brothers. Oh, man, that's good music. Becky Hoff is here. Good morning to you, Becky Hoff. Daniel Calderon, good morning to you, dear sir. And Barbetta Neal. Jen Ingram is here. Good morning to you, Jen. And Abdurrahman is here. Good morning to you guys. Time is 9:19. We're here with our friend Jim Cherry, author of the Lion Communique. And Jim has his first solo book signing. It's going to be Saturday, March 1st at the Oswego branch of Barnes & Noble.
Barnes & Noble, yes.
Oswego Barnes & Noble from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. The address is 2590 U.S. Route 34 in Oswego. So come on out, and if you have not yet read this book, you definitely need to check it out and purchase it. The link to this book will be in the description of this video below. So before we get into a little bit more of this reading, 9:19 is the time. It's only February.
Mm-hmm.
You got your book signing coming up, first solo. What's the rest of the year look like?
Call me.
Let's write it, right?
Yeah, I'm sitting in my room writing and trying to reaching out to people like you and like to wherever I can find people that I hope are interested in the book and what I think about writing and it's like I really like your readings of my things because you make them sound really good. But
hey, you know what? Listen, man, you write well. You write well, and I've always been I love World War II history.
Mm-hmm.
The battles of the Atlantic, U-boats, Stalingrad. That's my whole jam.
Uh-huh.
I've always loved some of the names are just escape me at the moment, but the oratory of great documentaries.
Mm-hmm.
When they talk about the twisted wreckage and the metal and the propulsion of the tank shell as it destroyed the facade of this French building, that's like part of it.
Mm-hmm.
That's like that's it's all part of it, and right. I really respect and have respected the printed word. So I love the chance to read out loud anytime I can.
Well, like I said, those movies in my mind, I'm trying to get those same pictures in for people, you know. It's like,
all right. So now there is another chapter I want to ask you about. It is God-Wired. Tell me about God-Wired.
God-Wired is a science fiction story, and it is about a guy. He works in a deep, secretive government organization in the Pentagon that no one's allowed to know about.
Oh.
And,
are they hiring?
Yeah, and he discovers a pattern in UFO sightings, and he kind of figures out why the aliens are coming to Earth and everything, and it turns out they're in search of. I don't know if I want to give it away.
No. Don't spoil it. Don't spoil it. Do you mind if I read just one interesting but kind of sentence here?
Yeah.
Jake had been watching for hours as the sun rose around the globe, and soon the sun would rise over the target city. From the data he'd colored it, the end point of the search pattern. It would either prove or disprove his theory. He knew if the UFOs and aliens were real, the ships wouldn't appear over the capitals of the world or out in the middle of nowhere, nor en masse scattered across the globe. And we don't want to give too much away. That sounds like a good movie right there, man. But this story has aliens, okay? The last little bit that we read had histories of World War II. Mm-hmm. Then we had father and son.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of life, but an air of fantasy as well in this book. How has this book been received by new audiences?
Very favorably. Yeah, people get back to me. The reviews are almost uniformly great,
Right.
actually. Yeah, and all the feedback I get from people, they really enjoy the book, and
Good.
yeah, they like it. So
Good stuff.
Yeah.
And you have your longtime readers.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I have a few out there that.
Now, where else can this book be found?
Well, online, barnesandnoble.com, Amazon. You can go to your local bookstore and say, "Hey, I would like Jim Cherry's book." So and they'll order it for you, because I'm not John Grisham or anything that they're going to carry it, but
Not yet.
Not yet. Maybe we'll talk about at the end of the year.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, so just go to your local bookstore, order it, come to the book signing.
Yes, come to the book signing, absolutely. What will be, so at the book signing from 1 to 3 p.m., will there be any snacks, giveaways, or anything like that people should know about for those who aren't familiar?
Not that, no.
You're not going to bring them cupcakes?
Well, maybe to entice you to come.
Thank you, my brother. I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. Yep. Well, Jim, this is it's a fantastic book, and like I said, we're going to share the link to this book so that you guys can purchase it and enjoy it yourselves. But I do want to read some of the praise about this book, and one of these specifically stood out to me as awesome. So, these 13 tantalizing tales from the edges of reality, where Ray Bradbury Lane cuts through the twilight zone, ignited centers of all-embracing wonderment in my brain that had been dormant since I stopped driving to the desert to stare at the stars. No small endorsement there. That's by Douglas Lumsden, author of A Troll Walks Into a Bar. How does it feel to read what's been written about your work?
Humbling, actually. You always hear about the diva-esque artist and who always wants to talk about themselves, but this kind of fulfills that part. But but those, I am always amazed that people like what I'm doing and like it to that extent, you
Right.
know, and they kind of see my influences and especially like when they get what I'm trying to do,
Right.
and stuff. So yeah, it's actually a very humbling experience for come across those.
Good stuff, man. Well, Oswego's Barnes and Noble, Saturday the 21st from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. Come on out for the book signing for Mr. Jim Cherry, author of The Lion Communique. And you can find this book on Amazon or wherever books are being sold. You should check out Yellow Bird Books here in Aurora. I think you'd be a good addition. You should walk in and introduce yourself down there sometime if you ever have time here in our great downtown.
I'll tell them you sent me.
Absolutely. Yep. So, good morning to all of you guys. Josie Mendoza-Geller as well. Jeanette Rosario is here. Good morning to you, Jeanette. A lot of great things are happening, and as we kind of start to wrap this plane up, and land this airplane, Good Morning Aurora will be 5 years old this year, and I want to say thank you to you, yourself, Josie, and other people out there who've been just part of the show and part of the team and part of the journey. And it does mean a lot to be able to interview an author and, see their progression, see everything that they're doing. So for those writers out there, keep your pens to the paper and keep writing great things. And if you produce any kind of book and want to talk about it, we're definitely here to share what you authors do. 9:27 is the time. Jim, as you know, my dear brother, the show ends on a positive note.
Okay.
What is your message today to the people of Aurora?
What is my message to the people? Well, first, let's stay warm.
Yeah, let's do that. Seriously, let's do that.
My message is, get out there, live, and experience things, and just try to do the best at whatever you're doing.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Whatever it is, everything everything contributes to the overall, I don't know, to the aura of, or maybe the atmosphere of the time. So get out there, do things, and be part of life. And
Absolutely, absolutely, yeah. Take part, jump in.
Yeah,
the water's cold.
Yeah, it's cold, but you learn to swim fast.
Absolutely. Well, I want to say thank you very much to Jim. Once again, the book is The Lion Communique by Jim Cherry. The link to this book will be in the description of this video later on. And this video, as always, will be on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts, all those great places as well. That's it for Good Morning Aurora today, ladies and gentlemen. Good Morning Aurora return tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. But right now, the second largest city's first bilingual news podcast is going to begin. So we encourage you to watch Buenos Dias Aurora with a whole lot of news and information, including a very important workshop happening this weekend with our partners Family Focus, Compañeros en Salud, Despertar Latino, and the Aurora Rapid Response Team. Be blessed. Take care of yourself and each other.
Being a local business in Chicago, we've always worked with community banks, but over time, those smaller banks started getting acquired by larger national footprint banks. It became time to work with Wintrust to meet our needs without having to have that big bank feel.
Wintrust understood what they wanted to accomplish, and they've increased in size 5 times over.
As we continue to grow, we're going to keep needing to borrow, so I'm sure they're going to love that.
Serving their needs. It's really the foundation of what Wintrust commercial banking is all about.